The government of Ghana, with the support of the World Bank and the USAID, presents GCAP Diaries. The Diaries showcases the success stories of the Ghana Commercial Agriculture Project being implemented by the Ministry of Food and Agriculture.
The project is looking at what you call the food security crops.
This drying floor project has been a major intervention from GCAP, and we are very grateful.
We train them on how to grow lettuce, aubergine, spring onions, and on how to grow basil.
We gave them $130,000 as the GCAP support.
Watch GCAP Diaries on GTV every Thursday at 6:30 p.m.
Food riots have recently racked countries like Senegal, Burkina Faso, Cameroon, Mozambique, Haiti, and Bangladesh. Foreign investors from land-scarce countries are suddenly seeking to develop agribusiness projects in Sudan and Angola. Concerns about African agricultural productivity growth have led NEPAD, New Partnership for Africa's Development, to set up the CAADP, Comprehensive African Agricultural Development Plan. The Rockefeller and Gates Foundations have supported, under Kofi Annan's overall leadership, the new AGRA initiative. The World Bank in 2007 dedicated its annual World Development Report to agriculture. All these interventions show how critical and necessary agriculture is to a country's development. What does this mean for Ghana? Should we accept the current trajectory of agriculture with complacency, accepting recent annual growth of 5.2% as evidence of its resilience? Or should we be re-examining its role? In 2009, Kukobila Nasia, a former World Bank Vice President for Africa, said, "Agriculture has a central role to play in promoting growth and poverty reduction in the Ghanaian economy at this stage of our development, and Ghana needs an agricultural based on productivity growth. This will raise almost 1 million more Ghanaians out of poverty by 2015, improve rural livelihoods significantly, and make a dent in the poverty of the rural savannah, especially in the north." However, this will require that civil society organization, the private sector and the media, and especially our leadership, to play critical roles in carving a way forward. Kukobila Nasia Farms Limited is making inroads in Ghana's agriculture development agenda. Established in 2005 by the Managing Director, Malam Seidu, the farm is located in the Savlugu-Nanton district in the northern region. They are mainly into maize, soybean and rice cultivation. It had a total farming area of 17 acres, irrigated with sprinklers and drippers. The farm operates an outgrower system, supplying them with various farming inputs and guaranteed market.
The objective of Kukobila Nasia Farms is to make profit, first and foremost, and then to enhance food security in the northern region as a whole. Our main crops cultivated are maize, soybeans and rice. We do other activities like the cultivation of tomatoes, onions and butternut squash.
The farm was faced with many challenges that stifled their growth and in turn that of their outgrowers. The farm lacked a storage facility to store harvested produce. The farm and its outgrowers had to send produce to Diele, which is 21 miles away. Post-harvest loss was a common phenomenon. The farm did not have adequate funds to increase its cultivated land size in order to scale up crop production. Dry season farming was only a dream due to inadequate and ineffective irrigation system. The drippers and the sprinklers the farm used could only service a portion of the farm's 17 acres of cultivated land.
Kukobila Nasia farms face a lot of challenges before the intervention of GCAP, and they are inadequate land, ineffective and insufficient irrigation system, lack of storage facility, and then lack of capacity building for the nuclear farmer and outgrowers.
Consequently, the farm applied to GCAP for funding to develop a 100-acre land. This comprised uprooting of trees, removal of stumps, leveling, bunding and harrowing of the land. The funds were also used for the acquisition and installation of 2 center pivot irrigation systems to irrigate the developed land, construct a 120 metric ton capacity warehouse, connect electricity from the national grid to the farm to power the new irrigation system. Source of water is from the river Nasia. This new irrigation system required installing a pumping machine in the river and laying of pipes from the river to the farm, a distance of 1 kilometer. GCAP also provided the staff of the farm and its 92 outgrowers with technical support, which consisted of training in good agronomic practices, group dynamics and agriculture as a business.
Before Kukobila Nasia farm, I applied to GCAP for assistance. We had 17 acres under irrigation, and at the moment GCAP is able to assist Kukobila Nasia farm acquire a 100-acre land which has now been developed, and 50 acres of that 100 acres have been allocated to outgrowers to plant maize, rice and soya beans to keep them or to help enhance their livelihood. Kukobila Nasia farms had a small pump that we use to irrigate the 17 acres of land, and now GCAP is able to provide Kukobila Nasia farms with 2 powerful pumps and then 2 center pivots to help irrigate the 100-acre farm. So at the moment it's in progress. You can see the center pivot in action. It waters 50 acres of land at a time, and that is when you start say 6 o'clock in the morning until you close 6 o'clock in the evening. You take 12 hours to irrigate 50 acres of land.
As part of the implementation strategy, Kukobila was required to replant some economic trees like sherbata and dawa dawa to compensate for what they destroyed while clearing the land.
The government of Ghana, with the support of the World Bank and the USAID, presents GCAP Diaries. The Diaries showcases the success stories of the Ghana Commercial Agriculture Project being implemented by the Ministry of Food and Agriculture.
The project is looking at what you call the food security crops.
This drying floor project has been a major intervention from GCAP, and we are very grateful.
We train them on how to grow lettuce, aubergine, spring onions, and on how to grow basil.
We gave them $130,000 as the GCAP support.
Watch GCAP Diaries on GTV every Thursday at 6:30 p.m.
Grants were awarded to farmers to help spur the growth of agribusinesses by addressing their self-identified binding constraints. The smallholder farmers are the ultimate beneficiaries. GCAP's model is to promote and facilitate the transfer of modern farming practices, knowledge and technology from nucleus agribusinesses to their smallholders. Constraints addressed by GCAP in this first call included quality land development, irrigation systems, warehouses, pack houses, feeder roads, electricity or power connections, and capacity building of smallholder or outgrower farmers working with the applying nucleus farmers. Galina Okaite Aku is the agribusiness analyst of GCAP.
This is something that we think is of great benefit to the agribusiness sector in this country. We've got farmers who are now able to use modern irrigation equipment. We now have farmers who are also going to learn how to use it, how to plan their season to get the benefits out of it.
Kukobila Nasia Farms Limited was successful in the application to GCAP. They were awarded a sum of $320,000 for land development, acquisition and installation of 2 pivot irrigation systems, connecting electricity from the national grid to the farm, construction of a warehouse and provision of technical support. Galina Okaite Aku gives us an insight into Kukobila Nasia Farms proposal.
Kukobila Farms was given $320,000 to do quality land development for the nucleus farm as well as his outgrowers, and to build a warehouse, a 120 metric ton warehouse. And we also provided him with money to procure an enhanced irrigation system called the center pivot system. Actually, before GCAP came into the system, we can only say that there were just a couple, 1 or 2 center pivots in the country. So for us, it's one of the innovations we've brought into the agri sector in the country, and we are very proud of that. We also, as part of the center pivot, gave him support to draw electricity from the main road into his farms and to his outgrower farms, and also provided management support to him to upgrade the skills of his outgrowers.
As part of its implementation activities, outgrowers were given an average of 2 acres of developed land. Outgrowers now didn't have to spend resources on developing land. They had access to a storage facility in the form of a warehouse that stores their produce till they can receive good prices on the market. Technical training was given to these outgrowers on topics such as good agronomic practices, group dynamics and formation, farming as a business and bookkeeping. Kukobila Nasia Farms have about 92 outgrowers they support. The farm supports outgrowers with services like land development, fertilizers, weedicides and capacity building. Outgrowers are made up of groups with an average number of about 23. Abdul Razak Adua, the outgrower manager, tells us about the operations of the outgrowers and the benefits of GCAP's intervention to the group.
With the support of GCAP, KNF have been able to train 178 outgrowers in 3 key areas, which include good agronomic practices, good farming practices, and group formation. Before GCAP came to our aid, we were having it difficult to train our farmers, our outgrowers. But with the help of GCAP, we are now able to go through and support them in the group formation, such as how to come together as farmers when there is a resolution and conflict. With the good farming practices, we teach them how to use chemicals such as fertilizer, weedicide and pesticide.
GCAP's intervention has been a game changer for Kukobila Nasia Farms and its outgrowers. They now have access to developed land with no restrictions. Their ability now determines the size of their farms. They now farm all year round with no worry of how they can irrigate their farmlands. Neither do they worry about post-harvest losses.
When we don't have rainfall at the dry season, pivot is capable for the doing of the irrigation. Pivot is the best equipment that we use to do irrigation, and we get a high yield of goods. So for the fertigation, pivot can be used for fertigation, and the fertigation is how to pass through chemical through the pivots. Like fertilizer, we can make a soluble fertilizer to a liquid state we pass it through the pivots. And also we do fumigation by like insecticide. You can pass insecticide through the pivots and to destroy insects those attacks the crops.
There has been a turnaround for female farmers. They now have the support they have always cried for: equal access to inputs and arable land. The sky is now the limit for them. Increased productivity due to GCAP's intervention now means they have enough income to take care of their families. They don't have to rely on their husbands for income. Livelihood has been enhanced due to increased income and food security.
GCAP intervened through Kukobila, and after their training in land planning preparation, planting skills, application of fertilizer, spraying techniques, weeding practices, and packaging of our produce, I was able to harvest 15 bags of maize from that same 1 acre of land at the end of the season. I want to encourage our women, especially the youth, to take up the challenge and acquire the knowledge GCAP is giving so they can have the power to take care of themselves and their families. I want to use this opportunity to thank GCAP and Kukobila for this initiative.
Our group's name is Kobli, meaning the youth. Years ago, farming in this community was very difficult. We didn't know how to plan, spray our crops, apply fertilizers, the right time to clear the weeds, etc. And that resulted to very low and bad yield after all our efforts. Fortunately, GCAP through Kukobila came to our aid, and we were trained in planning, good planting habits, weeding, and application of fertilizers, spraying techniques, weeding practices, packaging of our produce, and most importantly, pricing. I'm happy to be part of the GCAP family and will take the opportunity to invite other outgrowers to join the GCAP train so they can as well benefit from GCAP through Kukobila.
The government of Ghana, with the support of the World Bank and the USAID, presents GCAP Diaries. The Diaries showcases the success stories of the Ghana Commercial Agriculture Project being implemented by the Ministry of Food and Agriculture.
The project is looking at what you call the food security crops.
This drying floor project has been a major intervention from GCAP, and we are very grateful.
We train them on how to grow lettuce, aubergine, spring onions, and on how to grow basil.
We gave them $130,000 as the GCAP support.
Watch GCAP Diaries on GTV every Thursday at 6:30 p.m.
GCAP's intervention is making tremendous impact on agriculture. The interventions have resulted in increased yields. Farmers are now harvesting between 17 to 20 bags of rice per acre and 15 to 20 bags of maize per acre, as against the 8 to 10 and 5 to 10 respectively previously.
For Kukobila Nasia, I must say that impressive results for the last season. His yields grew 20 to 50%, depending on whether it was rice, maize, or soya, and that is the average of increase in yields for himself and his outgrowers. Their gross margins too were very impressive. For example, for the soya, gross margins were over 1,200 cedis, which is a good results we've had. For the rice, they were able to post gross margins of over 700 cedis, and then for maize, over 900 cedis, which we think is a good result, especially this being the first season since we supported the nucleus farmer by removing his binding constraints and giving him extra funds to be able to support the outgrowers.